Welcome, Juventini, back to the All Juvecast. This is episode 154. We're coming at you live, and we have got a lot to talk about. And before we get into that, we'll get the business out of the way. And if you're listening to this on audio, please head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can take part in these discussions, because the podcast now gets recorded live. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the like button and smash the subscribe button, okay? And it all helps, and it's all great support. Thank you, everybody, for the support. And of course, want to support the pod, check out Striped Hearts Apparel. We got the newest line now, focusing on some Azzurri legends. So check it all out. A lot of cool stuff for you and Teeny too. Now, we are going to kick it off because there was a game that got played yesterday that got kind of lost in all the madness that is the Super League or something like that. I don't know. I think there's something like that going on right now. I don't know. We will talk about it. And I'm happy to be joined by Luca, who's no stranger to the podcast, and then of course Mohamed, a newcomer making his debut. Mo, we talked a long time ago about setting this up. I'm happy the time has finally come. Happy to get you on. And we do have a little bit of a tradition, and that's finding out when people make their debut on the pod, how they became fans of Juventus. And I'd love for you to share your story, Mo.
I don't know. Long story short, 2 words really. Del Piero, It's never not Del Piero. But I think I started following the Azzurri first. My first ever match I have ever watched was the 94 World Cup final. And it was in the middle of the night for me, and I was living in Saudi Arabia at the moment. I woke up in the middle of the night. I just watched my dad watching the game. And I don't know, it's something about the blue shirts or what. I don't know whatever. I found myself really rooting for Italy in that game. And I cried my heart out when Baggio lost that PK. And then since then, I started following the Azzurri, and I have found my way through Juve. Firstly through Baggio, but then I saw Del Piero, and he just completely won me over there. Yeah. And after, of course, the 2006 relegation, you can never love Juve enough after that point. When you see all the dedication, something that's stuff of legends, really. I mean, the word legend gets thrown down a lot in the game, but it takes something like we had in 2006 to really classify those 6 legends as legends.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been a diehard fan for Juve, and I'm always playing them on FIFA or PS. And
there you go.
Yeah. I don't care if we're in Serie B, if we're coming 7th, if we have Krasic on the wings, if we have or Felipe Melo or something. Yeah. I will always play with you.
There you go. Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing your story. Love the kit you're wearing, by the way. Nice kit. And
the true crest.
The real, yeah.
Let's get to the business at hand. We're gonna kick off with the match that everybody forgot all about, and that's Juve and Atalanta that ended in a 1-0 loss for Juve. We are briefly going to touch on this because I know that everybody wants to talk about the big news at hand, but we will cover the match because it's part of the gig. It's part of what we do here, and these games are still important. And again, there's a lot of uncertainty. I know everybody's hopping on all this news, and it's hyped up right now, and still, we got to wait and see where the dust settles, right? But as far as Atalanta, Juve go, I thought the first half was actually, it was what I expected. It was a pretty open match. Juve looked better at the beginning and at the end of the first half. In the middle, it seemed to be all Atalanta. And still, nothing crazy generated, but Juve didn't create a whole bunch. The highlight there was probably Morata in the 33rd minute getting an opportunity with just a defender between him and goal, and he turned in towards where the keeper was, chipped it over, just didn't have enough in it, right? And didn't get it across the line, which sucked. McKennie getting into a good spot in the 37th minute. Wasn't able to do it. Pessina got a really good chance for Atalanta, probably their best in the first half. And then Chiesa found himself in good space, getting a one-timer again. Big block by Atalanta. They were selling out. They were making it very, very hard for us to get in there. Tough first half. Second half, just not enough from Juve. Not enough from Juve. And to go through a second half only getting one attempt, just never going to be good enough. You're playing a squad like Atalanta, you're asking for trouble. They almost survived with the draw, but Atalanta far superior in the second half. Zapata almost hitting a header in the 69th minute. Muriel almost scoring early in the second half with a great hit, trying to go far post. We really only had one attempt, and that was through a Morata volley. From a ball from Kulusevski that came in the 78th minute. And then Szczesny made a big save on a free kick. The ensuing corner, the ball comes out to Malinowski, who also hit that free kick. And he has a strike, and it hits Sandro and deflects into our goal. Heartbreaking stuff. 1-0 loss. Tough one, man. Tough one. But again, I see this team. For me, what stuck out is not enough guys doing as much as they can. Like, it just felt like a lot of guys were still flat. I know Pirlo had talked about ailments with certain guys, and but Danilo stepping in, not able to play the full 90, not able to start the match. I thought that was a critical thing for Juventus, because he was the one that was going to dictate getting Cuadrado moved forward and solidifying that right side. As soon as we lost Danilo and we had to have Cuadrado back, that creates the awkwardness in our system, because you either get Kulusevski out wide, who hasn't sold anybody, and then your other option is McKennie, who also becomes I don't know. It's just the best McKennie I've seen is probably when we did do that stable 3-man midfield, and he's got the ability to just go box to box and get involved in attacking ways. That was a big one, not getting Danilo. Of course, we know CR7 didn't play, but overall, I see too many guys just not flat. When you have a week between matches, that's a problem. So, guys, your thoughts on this match and this loss? Everybody was I was pretty upset that the second half we couldn't make any adjustments, and again, this is Pirlo, this is an inexperienced manager, but our 2-man pivot was getting stretched big time in the first half, and we didn't correct it. I thought this game was shouting for us to at least get 3 guys in there, switch it up on how you use Dybala, put him ahead of those 3 guys, make somewhat of a diamond, and get Chiesa kind of a little more freedom, because Chiesa was wasted and using so much of his energy defensively. These are all kind of the things that picked out of this one. Luca, why don't you kick us off with your thoughts on this one, man?
Oh, wow. Pressure. I have to cover the entire game.
No, you don't have to cover the entire game. Just, things that you spotted, you picked out and whatnot.
Okay. From what I noticed of the analysis, I didn't get to watch the game a second time. I usually do when I come on the pod. Unfortunately, I didn't get that chance. But when I watched the game, the first thing that struck me is the 2 styles of play that were going head to head, right? We lined up defensively as a 4-4-2. And whenever they would attack us, you saw they had maybe 5, 6 guys, just going at us at the entire time. And that was whether it was a counter or whether it was just a build-up play. They had a good amount of guys on our last line, just waiting, and they're moving the ball. What I noticed is that when we attack them, we had maybe 2 guys, 3 guys. If it was a counter, you'd maybe have, if you're lucky, you had Morata and Dybala, and maybe a 3rd guy, maybe in Chiesa. So even when we had possession, we didn't have that many guys going forward. I noticed that you saw the difference between what Gasperini plays and what Pirlo plays. And now we can break down the 2 systems. And I don't want to because I feel like I didn't have enough time to analyze it yesterday. But you saw what Atalanta strives in. They defended hard, and then when they countered, it was like, holy crap, here comes everybody. But yesterday, they weren't as lethal up front as I've seen them in the past. A lot wasn't going, well for them. They had their chances, but you saw it. Pesina wasn't able to finish. Muriel couldn't put it in, and even Zapata had a perfect opportunity with his head. Any other game, I think he's putting that in. I don't know why. Yesterday, they were as bad as us when it came to finishing. Now, if you look at our, let's say, our system, that 4-4-2 was very much rigid. So our offensive abilities weren't there. Like, you had maybe a little bit of flair in Cuadrado or Chiesa, but it wasn't enough to puncture that wall. They defended incredibly yesterday. Gosens were all over the place. He blocked at least 2-3 good opportunities from Cuadrado. Yeah. And Chiesa, although he was very direct in his movement, if he's alone and, he tries to feed off, Morata just fucks up his first touch. For me, that was the game. We had less opportunities, but I feel like just the creativity up front, even with Dybala there coming back and McKennie making the runs, it wasn't as... I'm going to say it was very much badly executed. It was just
Morata had a horror show too.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to start.
His first touch, his hold up play was terrible.
Yeah, and that's what I'm like. Look, we can. You wanted you wanted brief. We can go into it, and I think if we do, we'll be here for a while. But overall, I can't hear shit. I'm just saying. I think it was system versus system yesterday, and I think Andrea went with a defensive 4-4-2, and then maybe when we're up front, we might get a chance. That didn't work. So it's on him, I think, a bit. But I also think it's on the players, too, who just very much didn't perform.
If you're going to have a two-man pivot, you have to ask one of those forwards to drop back.
Yeah.
You have to, because what happens is it's too easy for those guys to get stretched out to the byline. And then you're at a loss. So keeping Morata and Dybala, or if it's Morata and Ronaldo up top, it just doesn't work. The last two-man pivot we saw that worked was because we played a 4-2-3-1, and the guys all dropped back. You saw Mandzukic was dropping back. Like, they only left one up. Defensively, it became a 4-5-1. That's how you're going to make it work, because you're not asking those guys to cover that much ground, because it's impossible. So the only reason it doesn't always go to shambles is if we're not playing a team that floods the middle of the park, right? But you have more and more teams like this that play with this 5 across the middle in attack and advancing, and it creates issues if you're trying to play a base 4-4-2 and keep your forwards forward. It's just not going to work. You're always asking way too much of those guys, whether it's, Bentancur, Rabiot, throw Arthur in there, whatever, and Arthur struggled. When he came on, he looked very, very poor.
He was piss poor for when he was on, but I think he wasn't even playing. Like, what was he playing in? What position was he in?
Yeah.
He had 2 other guys in, 2 other pivots. So what was it? That's the only time I'll judge Pirlo, because
the other thing is just we're too predictable. We're not getting enough out of the flanks. Cuadrado is providing it, but Sandro, I'm at a loss for words for Sandro, man. It's like he gets the ball, he goes forward, and it's always just, I'm going to turn and go backwards. He doesn't even look for 1-2s. He doesn't get involved. Like, you watch any other club, these guys, their fullbacks are willing to go in there and get committed. And he's just not anymore. And it's killing us, because we literally have one wing that we can play up. And that's a problem. That's a big, big problem. So that's why I said at the end of this match, when Juventini were just losing their minds on the team and everything like this, look, they want to talk about CR7, and, we are winless without CR7 in the 7 matches he hasn't played. I think one was a draw. Look, and then Dybala didn't do enough. This is not a CR7 or a Dybala thing. I laid it out as simple as I could. You have a team that picked an inexperienced coach. I should have never hired an inexperienced coach. Okay? You have that. Okay, you're not going to get adjustments mid-game that you need to. He's not there. The other thing is too, he is handcuffed somewhat because I looked at our options on the bench and nothing really excited me.
Now that's another way to look at it. If you're looking at the all-around game, and like you said, people are making this either a Dybala, Ronaldo, or a Pirlo thing. Realistically, like I know obviously people are going to shit on me and say, no, that's not true. We have to change things. Yeah, things have to change. We know that fundamentally there's issues. But look at our subs. Look who we played, and look at how we played. There's so many. Like it's not even a question of the players playing shit. It's we're missing. First of all, I mean I know Ronaldo is Ronaldo, but we have two strikers. One of them has been injured for like 2 months, right? So and the other one played like shit. So right away, who are you going to put on? The U21?
Well, let's go like this. Mo, the second Chiesa gets substituted. Do you think Juve is going to score?
Never in a million years. I think I had my thoughts about the match. I didn't catch all of the match, but
from the get-go, I wanted to get your thoughts after I spoke to this piece about people making a CR, Dybala, or Pirlo. For me, the coach, they hired an inexperienced coach. They took the cheap option. The standard of the roster has slid for many, many years. The standard has slid. And it is what it is. Honestly, I look at this team and I still say, no matter what lineup you put out there, it's too one-dimensional and we have no creative force in the middle of the park. Any combination of that midfield you put there, you still have a set of abilities that they don't have and can provide. I want to get your take on Juve this season, what you think about that assessment, and just your thoughts in general now.
Well, you're banging it right on the head, man. I don't know. We have been for a couple of seasons now, even from the last 2 years of Allegri, we have been really, really suffering with the transitions of play from defense to offense. From getting the right players to attack. When we first discovered McKinney at the beginning of the season, it was like a huge revelation. Everybody did not see that coming. Well, with his late runs from the middle of the park to the box, and then all of a sudden that changed. He started playing on the wing, and to this day I don't know why. He keeps trying those weird transitional formations inside in the game. Sometimes 3-5-2, 3-4-3, 4-4-2. I don't know. And I think Pirlo is focusing mainly on the tactical side of things without teaching those young players. Not all of them are young, but the new players at least, the transitional plays for the team. What to do when you're having the ball with Chesney, for example. Where should you pass it to? Who will be in this area? That's how I look at it. I know I'm not a tactical genius or anything, of course, but that's what I see other teams are doing. Look at Real Madrid; they were suffering for all at the start of the seasons, and look at them now. They played Liverpool, sandwiched by Barcelona, and they wiped the floor in the 3 matches with these teams because of this thing. And they have a midfield. Of course, we're not the quality of Modric and Kroos and Casemiro, but they are really aging midfield. And we have a young midfield. We should be, I don't know, using that.
Well, the thing is while people continue to go at the coach as well, and I will get into Pirlo's criticisms. I will get into criticisms on Pirlo, but we have certain guys that are still struggling. We're on our 3rd manager now in 3 years.
Yeah.
And you still have guys that can't break through that giving you the same problems. I talked about Sandro. Sandro's one who's been just regressing. Every year, he's just been regressing. Okay. We don't address it. It's not getting addressed. Bentancur has never been able to make that next step. He's still super young, but he's just, for Juve, whatever, it never translated like it has for Uruguay when he plays there. It's tough, man. And then you have young guys coming into the fold now, and you're having to rely on them a little too much than you should. You shouldn't have to rely, while Kulusevski hasn't really found a home in the setup, he still shouldn't be relied upon as heavily as he was. And now everybody's shitting on him saying, oh, he's not even a professional football. It's like, take it easy, young kid. But second striker was never his position, and he's been having to play there for way too long. And the thing is, again, any way you slice it, you watch this match, guys, when they do make runs, number one, we either don't see it out of the middle, because I saw Bentancur and Rabiot, they had opportunities. The play was flowing in that natural direction. Didn't even turn, and they went back into the shit we were just trying to work our way out of. And it happens all the time. And then the times where they did see the run, the ball's not there. They just can't. It's either overhit by a mile or they just can't hit the target. Like the passing, it's frustrating. I see so much poor execution from these guys, that it's frustrating to me. But to have holes in your roster still after this many years is a problem. Okay. Now, I will say this, the system that he continues to go with, Pirlo, this is where we're going to get into Pirlo criticism. We saw flashes of where he played great in a 4-2-3-1, that kind of setup. And we saw matches where they did good when he kept the midfield stable in a true 3-5-2. And he still changed. And went to this 4-4-2 that turns into a 4-2-4 attack. He's still changed. And it's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating for him to not see what was looking better and go with that. This, like how adamant he is about this 4-4-2 it's incredibly infuriating as a fan. I understand fans' frustrations when you see this over and over and over. In this particular match against Atalanta, when you're getting stretched all over the middle of the park and it's looking sloppy, you got to clean it up. You have to make that change. You have to be able to see it. He failed us on that one. Big time. The setup, if we change that 4-2-3-1, yes, it looks better. The options are there and whatnot. We still, no matter what setup we've played in, this team struggles when teams park the bus too and line up that 5 across the back. Atalanta does that. Atalanta will set up when they get the chance to set up because they do push hard offensively. So our opportunities had to come, but we had to be quick. And that's where the skill set and the brains come into the hand of the players. You have to be able to react and pick that out and smell the blood when you have those opportunities. We can't do it. Our counters are just weak. And they've been for a couple of years now. It's frustrating. It's frustrating stuff, right? But there's a lot to it. If we got an experienced manager in here, because now the talk is top four. You got to hit top four. Juventus has to hit top four. Get him out now. I'm asking you guys. Pull the trigger on Pirlo right now. Yes or no? No. Okay.
I'm saying yes.
For the simple reason.
An absolutely yes. So this is great.
Right.
We're going to let Luca go.
I'll go first because if you're telling me there's a lineup of great coaches waiting to sign a contract, I'm saying yes. Right now, in my mind, I'm saying you get rid of him, financially we're already in a hole. So what? You're going to pay 20 mil and bring in Mourinho, who just left Spurs today? Or you're going to pay 15 mil for Allegri, who we know is not going to sign a contract for less than 2 years. So financially already in a hole. Let's keep digging. Let's just keep digging. In my mind, you took the risk with a low-paying coach. You're going to stick with it. Those who live by the sword are going to die by the sword in that sense, because you wanted to take this change, own up to it. That you switch half season now, you're just going to bury yourself even more and embarrass yourself. I think at this point, I'd rather die on the hill, honestly.
Mo, you're an immediate yes to get rid of Pirlo.
Yeah. I think because it wouldn't make a difference after all. There will not be any change in the style of play or in the results for that matter, So I think why not get someone, I don't know. Sometimes, well, I actually coached for a season or two. So maybe we'll get the results for an interim part, and then we'll come back next season
So
with an experienced coach. I'm crossing my finger for Simone Inzaghi. But
here's the thing for me. If you're gonna pull the trigger now, it can't be reactionary, and there has to be a plan.
Right.
So Allegri, everyone wants to talk about Allegri. He's not going to come back for 7 games. He's going to want the long term. So my question is that direction we want to go back in? Do you want to bring a guy, get in there, and end up going that route? Okay. You have to, if whatever you do, you have to, it has to fall in lines with your plan. You can't just do something for the sake of doing it. Tudor as an intern? No, thank you. Like, what's the point then? Just might as well keep him as that staff. Like, just let Pirlo finish out if you're just going to have Tudor as an intern.
Yep.
Mourinho getting fired, and it's like, well, there's a guy with experience. Is everybody willing to get Mourinho in there?
Nope.
For me, it's a no, because again, but why? Because we're thinking of this project that they've kind of put out to us, but do they even? Does the board even know what they're going after? You know what I mean? Because I'm failing to see the plan. I'm failing to see the overall thing, and it's just got to make sense on all levels, and it hasn't for a while. That's kind of where I'm at. It's become an issue when you can't tell what their actual game plan is. Another frustrating thing in this match, Chiesa, who's been a catalyst for us, had to leave the match with an injury. He's
is there an update on it?
Muscle issue. I think it's hamstring.
Have they put out anything?
Nothing. It's okay. Sorry, no muscle injury for Chiesa, but he'll probably miss Parma and Fiorentina. McKennie will be fine for Wednesday's match against Parma, but Chiesa's going to be taking a break for sure. At least the Parma game. We won't see Chiesa, which is going to be a huge blow to this team.
It's going to be a blow, but you know what? If Ronaldo's back and let's say magically Bernardeschi is negative, then we have some backup.
Eric coming in here saying I'd take Storraro's pinky toe as a manager before Mourinho, and Eric's got some gold lines.
That toe saved us, man. I guess Madrid. Remember
that toe saved us. Yeah.
So here's the thing, you just gotta take your time. I don't think pulling the trigger, and I understand the argument for a shock to the system, a shock to the players.
But it's too late, Al.
But
I think
it's where I'm coming from. There's always, when you appoint an interim manager, there's always a positive impact that happens to the team.
It's
short-lived. I know what you're going to say.
Exactly.
But we are in the final lap of the season, and we are really, really pushing for the 4th spot at least. So this is where I'm coming from. But if not, okay, then Pirlo stays. I'm so frustrated with the season that it's literally making me don't care about it.
It's crazy, and we're thinking about this match. We're breaking down this match, and before I even have time to really process, I'm still thinking about it yesterday. I'm sitting there and I'm just like, man, this is just so frustrating. This team is just starving for creativity, in the middle of the park there, and the guys are too. It's not that our players are useless. It's the combination that we play in the midfield becomes useless. You have McKennie that can kind of set himself aside, but not on the outside as a mid. Rabiot and Bentancur are way too similar. They're too similar to be playing in there at the same time. Arthur steps on and that's by far the worst I've seen him play.
You should have started in my ass. I think different system. You get a 2-man mid of Arthur, you throw in either Bentancur or Rabiot, one of the two, and you put McKennie there as your offensive mid, and you're set. I said it earlier in the week, 4-2-3-1. Just it works. It worked versus Lazio. Yeah, it worked versus. Was it Lazio? We went with it the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked versus Lazio. Why didn't we do it again? And obviously, was I surprised not to see it?
No, and that's the frustrating part, right? The other thing is again, you're taking Dybala, and Dybala again was kind of doing the same thing Cristiano would do, which is drift all over the place. And even if Morata's hold-up play was where it needed to be, these guys were miles away from each other throughout the match. And it's just like, again, hone it in. It's like, make it a little more rigid. But if we had a guy in the midfield that could do it, he wouldn't have to do that. Like it's frustrating, right? Or slap Dybala as your center attacking mid. Just take him in there, hold him above the midfielders, and let him play out of there.
Yeah.
McKennie would be the oddball out there though, because then he'd have to play winger, a little bit of a winger, and he can't do it. And then
unfortunately,
we got pigeonholed in this one because Cuadrado had to play right back.
Yeah, that was the biggest. I think that was if Danilo was fit, I think it would have been a very different game.
Yeah, we were that Danilo not being able to start that really pigeonholed us. But that does highlight how the depth just isn't there positionally, and this is an issue for Juve for years. It's just roster spots not being filled properly, right? Not enough backup. So frustrating. So while I'm still thinking about this and all these thoughts are processing, Super League comes out and it's just boom, and the website's out, and it's like, man, Juve is a founding team of the Super League. Football is dead. No, this is great. We're going to be rich. We're going to have all this money. So yeah, now I get to watch my team waste even more money. You mean like great. Here's the thing with the Super League. Let's get into this.
Can we break it down?
Let's get into Super.
Can we break it down now? Because I quickly read like a couple statements, but I want to just break it down for people like either listening and watching what the concept is, what the goal is.
So what I think the biggest misconception of the Super League that people are having right now is that they think that these clubs want to like solely play in that league.
Right.
Which isn't the case.
That's not the case. Okay.
No. So what they want to do is they want to create this, essentially, it's them giving a big fuck you to UEFA. Okay.
Right.
They want it as a new alternative to the Champions League. So it's going to be this league with 15 founding teams. Okay. 15 founding clubs, and they will have an entry for 5 clubs to make a 20-team league in which they play 10 matches, and then they'll create a format or whatnot, but it's its own tournament, its own entity, okay? And then they still want to play domestically. And this is where the battles are beginning, because now UEFA is trying to get FIFA to back as well, and they are starting to put out their statements saying that players that will play in this league will not be allowed to play for their national side. And UEFA is trying to get the leagues in play to say that basically you will not be able to play in your domestic league. You won't be able to take part, and that you'll be out of your domestic league as well and cup competitions. And this is where the battle is going to be held, okay, is on that. The news today is that the league, Serie A, is going to be holding a meeting, and Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Juventus are not part of that meeting, and that it's the 17 other clubs. And there's already clubs that are saying kick those 3 clubs out of the league immediately. There's a theory going around that should this happen and should they decide this, that all of a sudden they're going to recalculate points. Atalanta would probably already win Coppa Italia automatically, probably be sitting there for the Scudetto. Massive asterisks. If this scenario happened, the only good thing would be that Merda wouldn't get the Scudetto. That would be the only good thing. We lost Mo. That's okay.
That's okay. He'll come back on.
Yeah, Mo's coming back on. There he is. Mo's back on.
There
So
he is.
Sorry,
yeah, the only
guys.
good thing that would come
Internet
back
connection
and not get their title. But this Super League, people have to understand that this has been something that's been going on for a long time. These clubs have wanted more of a share out of UEFA for quite some time. UEFA, just like FIFA, is pretty corrupt.
Right. Right. We know that.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay. UEFA now today put out a statement of a new format for Champions League. So they put out a new format. 36 teams. They're adding 4 more teams to Champions League. They want to scrap the groups and play a round of matches. However, 36 teams, you're not going to have every team play 18 matches or something like that. You're not going to be able to do that. So the problem would then be, how do you decide who plays who? How do you decide that match? Because what they want to do is then take the best 8 out of those standings and transfer them over to the knockout rounds. And this is unbelievable, right? I want to get your guys' initial thoughts on this Super League now that we've kind of broken it down. Okay, Mo, how do you feel about this Super League?
Well, as a football fan, of course, I'm not happy. Because as a Juve fan first, Juve was always considered in my childhood, at least, as an underdog. So I'm always in the mentality of an underdog. So I can always feel for the little teams who will not get the spotlight if this Super League things goes through. But as a Juve fan and as a UEFA hater, of course, I'm 110% through with the idea. Look at the shares that the numbers only that they put in their announcements. 425 million, I think, for each club. And the winner will get an extra 400 million. The Champions League winner will take, I don't know, 100, 125 million. It's uncomparable to me, at least. And all of the other money goes to the bellies of UEFA and FIFA. And I think I don't know. I think maybe they'll settle for something. Maybe it's a power play from the big clubs. I don't know. And if UEFA and FIFA, I think they have threatened those big clubs that they will not be participating in the leagues or in the World Cups or something like that. It's not enough of a threat for the players of the clubs to make them abandon the idea of the Super League. So I'm torn, but I think they'll settle for something in between. Yeah. There will not be a Super League, and we will not see the Champions League as we know it here.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards the same. I thought it was just like everybody's kind of coming out playing their cards, but ultimately I think they will work together. But it's tough to say. It's tough to say when you start thinking about the people involved. Florentino Perez, Agnelli, like ruthless businessmen, right? Like it's tough. Luca, your initial reaction to this whole Super League thing?
Firstly, I need clarity here, because before I can even make, reactions, I need to know. The argument right now is that UEFA is not giving enough money from Champions League, correct? That's
one of them, yeah.
Right. Do we know how this money is rewarded? Is there like it's usually you by each round you make, correct? Or if you make it in, first of all, you get X amount.
So are you asking about the money in the Super League, how it's being distributed?
No, not Super League. Super League, I read up on.
Because Champions League is based on performances.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the argument by these clubs is that we're not getting enough money from UEFA and whatnot for the tournaments they have going on right now, which is Champions League and Europa League. Correct. My initial reaction was, okay, I see your point. You're not making enough money. You want to put your own league on the side. I get that. You're basically saying, like you said, Al, they're basically saying F you to the UEFA and the whole corporation, and saying, you guys are a disaster. You're a mess. We're going to try our own thing. And you know what? I think people are looking at it very quickly and saying, "Oh, that's embarrassing." Yeah, okay. There's a point where it's like if they get kicked out of the league, it's embarrassing because they're putting money before everything else. But if you're looking at it simply as the fact that UEFA is doing things wrong, and this is the way these big clubs are reacting by doing this strategy, it's a simple business move, and I don't see it really. I mean, ethically or morally, I think there's some issues. Obviously, you're seen as the bad guy. But if let's say your boss isn't paying you what you should be paying, and you quit, are you seen as a bad person? Are you I think there's different ways that you can look at it, and obviously, yes, it is embarrassing if teams like Juventus and Madrid basically get banished from everything. It'll be very embarrassing. But if they did it for a good reason, where it's like we deserve more money, we're not getting it, then I see a validity to it. Honestly.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think right now, the initial reaction when you're thinking about this as a traditionalist, it kind of sucks because you grow up watching Champions League. Your team qualifies for Champions League, all that and whatnot, and it's kind of weird to think if this were to go down. 1996 is the last time I would have saw Juve lift the Champions League, and that's it for that. Now we go on to the Super League. Part of the issues here for me are they can't get all of this. So I agree with what they want out of Champions League, okay, in terms of a better revenue share. Okay. However, if they start the Super League to still want to take part in their domestic leagues is kind of bullshit, because you can't have teams making an astronomical amount of money in this exclusive league that they've created themselves and then go and compete with the other guys.
Yeah, that would be unfair.
You can't do that, right? Yeah, and so it hurts the credibility of that league. So all of a sudden, there's way too many variables here that you start to look at, and you're like, well, this just doesn't quite make sense. And the numbers are huge, like Mo talked about. Each team getting 350 million euro. DAZN is reportedly ready to sign the league for $6 billion. A $6 billion TV contract.
What?
The numbers being thrown around yesterday were insane, and I think this is part of hype that they've created, this Super League, in order to strong arm UEFA, because UEFA cannot lose these clubs in Champions League, okay? Because you cannot have it's technically not Champions League.
Yeah, I think that's what the
now all of a sudden you have this Super League. It's crazy, right? Now, the players thing's going to be interesting because I don't see a way where they can tell these players they can't compete nationally. I don't see that happening.
There's got to be something like I heard talk of a union. That's
it. The players could create a union. Should they need? There's already loosely some organizations that cover the players, but not like a true union.
For
right?
sure.
But yeah, there's just so much there, and then you start breaking it down. You start looking at the layers here. JP Morgan is is where the money, the funds are going to come from, right?
Yeah.
John Elkann is an international council board member for JP Morgan. So John Elkann, of course, Agnelli's grandson, chairman of Exor there, which is obviously the holding company of the Agnelli family. So there's a lot of layers here to start putting together. But basically, right now, for me, it's too hard to put this all together right now because there's way too many questions. Way too many variables here. So it's hard to really, really react. The initial reaction is, I think, for me, I would love for them just to sort something out with UEFA and be able to just keep that going.
That, I think, might be the angle. I saw someone tweet it yesterday as a hypothetical. Maybe they're just doing this to strong arm UEFA and FIFA into making a negotiation, which, by all means, if there's any way to do it, this is it. Because this is basically saying, it's us or it's either we're gone or you sign the paper, basically, or they're making them an offer they can't refuse. And
I agree.
Yeah.
But then the interesting is Agnelli left the board for ECA, and now he's vice to Florentino with the Super League, which is kind of strange too, because it's like, man, are they strong arming, or is like things? There's always like
I think it's because Agnelli will contradict himself. He cannot be on the
he's got
the committee that just reformed the Champions League on 36 teams, and then I'm a founding member of Super League. It's just a contradiction,
Exactly.
He should decide.
If they were gonna, it's just, I don't know. The whole thing's bizarre. It's
a shit show.
It's bizarre how it just hit like that. I don't even.
Happening so quick.
Like, the sad thing for me is, and I honestly still don't think it will ever happen. I don't think the Super League's going to happen, personally. If it does, okay, but would the leagues be able to cut out these clubs? Sure, they can do it, but would those leagues really survive? And that's the tough thing that I go back to. You can't have these clubs coming back in there with this incredible wealth that they're getting from a secluded league. And now all of a sudden you have this league, 15 clubs, the founding 15 clubs are always in it. They will always be part of this league.
But wait,
only 5 spots that are rotating for other clubs.
I'm curious now, because let's say hypothetically you take the three clubs from Italy that are they go into their Super League and they're making X amount of money. Then you take whatever clubs are remaining and those 5 go into Champions League. They're still making that Champions League money. So they're not making money, but they're not making the same. So in the end, it's basically your top 3 are making like 300 mil. Your middle table is making like 100 mil, and then the bottom is making nothing. So it's not completely unfair, but it obviously it is a little bit. Well, it's unbalanced, but it's not like one side's making 300, the other side's not making nothing. There still will be teams going to the Champions League and all this.
Well, I wonder how much the Champions League ends up suffering without those clubs, though. Like,
obviously.
Because, okay, let's just, for instance, let's take a look here. Okay, let's say, for instance, that those clubs get wiped out of we'll just take Serie A for instance. Okay. Yeah. So now all of a sudden your Champions League teams are Sassuolo, Roma, Lazio, Napoli. That's your Champions League
games. I'd watch those games.
I'd watch those games for Italy, man.
Because you love Calcio, but seriously, Hellas Verona is not far off from a Europa League spot. Actually, they would be in the Europa League qualifying. No, they would hold the Europa League spot. Hellas Verona, Europa League. Sampdoria playing to get in Europa League.
I can see that.
It's wild, man. It's wild. The whole thing's wild. We're not going to get the answers we need in a quick period of time. I just tell people, like, buckle up. It's gonna be a wild ride. I expect lawsuits. I expect some battles, some legal battles. It's gonna be very, very interesting. Madness. This meeting is set to take place shortly, apparently, with Serie A. So it'll be interesting to see what comes from that. But I can't help but feel a little bit, if it were to go down, sad for the league in general because of the domestic rivalries, and again, just being a little bit more of a traditionalist. And
I think even as a traditional, even without being a traditionalist, if you're someone who grew up, let's say, I'm speaking for the younger generation now. Even if you grew up in let's say in the 2000s, you grew up with this as like your structure, traditionalist or not. You're throwing out everything we've learned, and these kids obviously they don't care because for them, they just follow the biggest name and the biggest trend. But you're taking a system that's been around for so long and just throwing out the window. It's like, okay, it's like saying math is no longer math. We're gonna change 2 + 2 = 5. It's the same argument, and you're just like, okay, I have to change my whole perspective of everything. And obviously, as humans, we can adjust, but I think it's going to be a very, very hard time of adjusting. And for us old school people out there that have been watching this forever and there's so much history, it's going to hurt so much.
Yeah, it's just still tough to make sense of, all of it and why they couldn't work together and come up with some. But we know how UEFA operate. We talked about it earlier. They're corrupt. They're corrupt as hell. So I'm not surprised that the guys, the leaders of these big clubs, all said, "No, fuck, like let's do this." But it is like the ultimate case of, you know what? No, we're just gonna pick up our ball. We're walking off the field. We're out of here.
That's
And Agnelli's taking a lot of heat. Like, I see fans on both ends of the spectrum here saying, "Oh, what a power play by Agnelli, man!" Like, yeah, the Dawn or whatever. And then I see others saying, "Oh, you're like, what are you doing? You've made us a joke, and you've done all this."
Again, I think we need more.
I want to know where you guys stand basically on Agnelli. Like, I see some fans saying they're embarrassed that we're one of the founding clubs of this thing. And then I see other fans that say, no, that's great. We're going to become rich. We're going to have this money. We'll be able to like bolster a solid roster and what. I understand the appeal of a super league and all this money and signing all these players. But at the same time, yeah, the traditionalist part kind of sucks, right? But I want to get your guys' take on our involvement in this, and do you see it embarrassing, or do you see it as we're moving with the times and Agnelli's doing what he does best, which is run a business? What do you think in terms of that, guys?
I don't know. Let me take me back you a little few years back when we went full mode on the business model and the J and the training center and everything. This is a historical point in Juve's history. Flash forward 2 or 3 years in 2020, and we're hit hard by the pandemic. It changed everything in the books and in financial terms and the pay grades and everything, and even the transfer market. I think this is what initially played like a catalyst in the whole Super League thing. All the big clubs, especially the big clubs, has been hit hard by the pandemic. They can no longer afford the pay grade they're giving to the players or the coaches for that matter. And I think this is what exactly has been why Pirlo has been appointed. So I don't know. I understand where he's coming from. I'm not supporting his decision for the full business model 100%. But if he chooses to go this way, so be it. I will always be a Juventino, and I'll die a Juventino. I'll always be a Juve fan.
Yeah.
And he's a legacy. He's an Agnelli.
Luca.
I don't know what you guys think.
We're gonna get Luca's take, Mo. Yeah, is it embarrassing for the club to be a part of this, or not for you personally?
Look, if you're looking traditional Juve fans and our core beliefs, money has always been the talk for the last 3 to 5 years. Everyone says, "Oh, you guys got the money. Juve has the money." Da da da. Yes, because we were smart business-wise. We had owners as the Agnellis who, put the proper money where it was needed. And, we made our name through that. A lot of people could say what they want. But now, in this moment where it's going to that next level, again, I see it as another business move. It's a power move in terms of just looking at the business side of football and soccer. I think it's not embarrassing if, once again, as I mentioned, if we get all the information and we actually see how badly UEFA has been, handling this. There's a reason why the biggest clubs in the world are doing this. It's not just like Madrid or Barcelona saying, they're corrupt. It's not like two teams. It's like six from EPL, 3 from Italy, and 3 from Spain. So that's a lot of big teams, and these are some of the biggest teams in the world. So there's a reason. Right. It's not like you're in a gym class and there's one kid who doesn't want to play the sport. No, it's majority that don't. Right. It's a big chunk. So something tells me that there's more to it that we just don't know yet. And Yes, I think, again, if you're just looking at it saying, oh, they're being greedy, it is embarrassing. Yes, because in the end, it's all about money, but that's what football has become. So there is a part of it that is borderline embarrassing. I will admit that. As a fan who loves the sport for the sport, I've never enjoyed the new business side of things. I know it's a must. Things have to modernize. I get that. But I've always been old school in that sense where for me, the sport is the sport. Get on the pitch, give it your all. That's it. Um, but I think there's a balance here, Al. I think we have to find out more information, and I don't want to pass any more judgment until I know everything because I'm uninformed. I don't know off Twitter.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I'm embarrassed in terms of our results and the fact that we're one of the founders of this Super League, and we can't even fucking keep our shit together in our own league, But that's fine, that part of it is embarrassing. But in terms of UEFA and FIFA, whatnot, trying to look like the good guys is bullshit.
Exactly.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
You have so for people to say that the leaders of these clubs went on, and just the wording that UEFA are using in their statements, it's them trying to like paint this picture like they're trying to like depict like they're trying to save football. This all stemmed and was created by them.
Mm-hmm.
It all started with them. Alexander Safran coming out here saying that players that will play in the Super League will be banned from playing in the World Cup and Euros. They will not be allowed to play for their national teams. Again, I have to see that to believe it. But could you imagine like an Italian national side with Ciro Immobile as the strike? Oh, wait, sorry. We do actually have Ciro.
Kamaka.
He's actually going to be there.
Kamaka now.
All I know is that Germany is winning for the next 10 years if that happens. Because they haven't touched the league yet. They have not even, mentioned. They're the only ones.
I don't know.
Who?
I think they'll get around. The only team that's not going to join, I think it's PSG.
Bayern's in.
Yeah.
Bayern's in. This morning I was reading they both rejected. Both Bayern's them and Dortmund.
In.
Oh, okay.
Bayern's in. The only one that isn't is PSG.
Yeah,
and the reason
the World Cup.
And the reason is because PSG has ties to UEFA.
Yeah, exactly. They have ties. The owner has shares in like the TV rights or something.
The chairman of PSG is like the Prince of Qatar, who's hosting the World Cup next year.
Exactly.
So they're torn between joining the league or abandoning the World Cup. So
Sky Sports reporting that the 12 clubs have signed a 23-year commitment to the Super League.
What?
And this whole thing is going to get really, really messy, and all the shit's going to go back and forth. You're going to see these statements going back and forth and back and forth. Ultimately, like, for the good of football, you cannot have a league secluded where these guys can't take part domestically or take part in their national side. As a player, though, this is going to be interesting, and this is where I'm looking at next is players. All we've seen so far is ex-players talking, like Anders Herrera, Anders Herrera put out a comment, but like a lot of ex-players, Gary Neville went on a big rant about it, like football was dead and stuff like that. Honestly, like football was kind of, if not already dead, like dying anyways in terms of a traditionalist standpoint. Would you guys agree?
Look at your top four in Champions League right now. Look at your top four in Champions League and look at their revenue. I want everyone to see that. You have Man City, PSG, and Madrid in your top four. Chelsea's there too, but look at the amount of money behind those teams. If you tell me the sport is not about money, you've been blinded. It's very simple.
Yeah, it's been a business for quite some time, right? Yeah. Mo, you were going to touch on something before Luca.
Sorry.
Yeah. What's really making me scared that they won't start this thing as early as August. So I don't know if they have enough negotiations with the UEFA and FIFA or something. I don't know. Things are going to go fly past us.
I just hope they get some decent fucking refs for this league.
Yeah. I think it's a power play from the big clubs. I don't know. I'm still holding my cards on that. It's a power play,
just,
and and them telling UEFA and FIFA that we are the big guys now. You cannot control us anymore.
Yeah. And again, just another tidbit for people to kind of, before drawing any conclusions, like Luca said, we need more information. You need to wait and see. But for UEFA to depict themselves as kind of the good guys in all this, and
that pisses me off.
it is bullshit. Because
No.
how many times has Man City gotten away on this fair play bullshit?
Al?
Yeah, PSG has never been touched even.
Yeah.
Just
look at it this way. It is if for people who are unknown to the world of soccer right now, the next World Cup is being hosted where?
Qatar.
How many innocent workers have died, and now players have been standing up? How many people have perished trying to build that stadium? No one's talking about that.
Yeah.
Not a single statement.
Yeah.
And that's all organized by who?
Yeah. And the racist stuff also. It's not about the human rights and the racism.
They don't care. So at any time that they're trying to act like these good guys, that to me, this is where I have a lot of my friends who they actually want to listen because they're uninformed. They're not super into the whole soccer industry, and I couldn't even give them the proper facts because I didn't know. But for people who aren't known on like the history, UEFA is not innocent in this. They are one of the most corrupt leagues and corporations like ever. They've been very much openly critiqued, and everybody knows it. So for them to act innocent is laughable.
Yeah, and that's why I say, for people, like, this is not something that just literally happened yesterday. Been going on for a while, and with teams trying to get a better share and it never happening, with fair play being stretched for clubs, they were asking for this. UEFA's been asking for this for a while, and now they've just all finally banded together, the big top clubs, and said, you know what? We're cutting out the middle. And honestly, that happens in businesses all the time. All the time. You start looking at it and you're like, well, okay, why are we using this guy? We can just do our own and make even more. So we're doing it. It happens in business all the time.
Right.
Football has become a business, not just yesterday when the Super League was announced. Football's been a business for quite some time, where it's shifted. There's been a drastic shift. The amount of money that's increased around the game over the years is insanity. You had record deals back in the day of 8 million. 8 million was like record deals back, even as far as maybe early 90s, 8 million pounds. Like,
yeah.
Now all of a sudden that's peanuts. You're getting a loan. You're getting
Ramsey.
Because the amount of money surrounding the game has just become incredible, and it's natural. It's natural for these teams to ask for a bigger cut. It's just tough. EPL, the Premier League on their own as a league has done incredibly well financially.
Right.
Right. And
so it's shocking. It really is shocking because they have the finances. For me, I think it's not about the individual leagues anymore. I think it's very much what you do on the side. Don't forget, Champions League. It's a huge tournament to bring these clubs together. It's done not only for the fans, but financially for the clubs. Like Juventus, for example, we rely financially on the Champions League so much. So
yeah.
Again, it comes down to knowing the facts. If you're telling me it's because, okay, we get into Champions League, we make 80, but technically we should be making like 150. If you tell me that's the fact, and then like you show me the numbers, I will believe it and I will take their side on it. But I don't know. Again, so it's hard to say all this because we're speculating, and until we know numbers, we can't really start judging.
FIGC president Gabriele Gravina. Football belongs to the fans. The only feasible reform is that of UEFA for the new Champions League. Any breakaway attempt is dangerous for European football.
He's right. Oh, he's right. Yeah, no, he's right.
So
I don't know.
This is an interesting one. I can already read this headline. I can already read this tweet and take it two different ways. And I think Mo's kind of on that term. Mo, your initial reaction to this tweet?
I don't know. The FIGC is not, to me, it's not up to standards. They're just like UEFA. Look at all the racism incidents we had in the past. I don't know, couple of years. I wouldn't go even further than that. They're just as corrupt, I think, to me, I think, as the UEFA and FIFA. So giving out statements like this, poetic statements like, "Oh, it's football is dead," and the fans are weeping in the streets or something like that. I don't know. They just hypocrisy at its finest. It's not for me. It's business. Yeah. If you market your league well, you'll end up having a lot of money. This is what the EPL did. It did. And you know what's funny? Speaking about the Super League, I think you've heard about this. I don't know if you heard about this or not. That UEFA was considering canceling the FFP, the financial fair play.
Oh,
After letting a club like AC Milan sacrifice, participating in the Europa League or Champions League, now after a couple of years, no, you can play again. Get whoever you like. Spend as much as you like.
The thing is that fair play makes sense. It makes sense. It's just the fact that they don't actually back it, depending on who's involved.
They don't apply it right. Yeah,
they created that nightmare on themselves. Bianco,
conceptually, it's great.
This tweet from Bianco Neri Zone, and I noticed that Panju actually put it up, and this is Alexander Sefrin, the president of UEFA, on Agnelli. I have never seen a person lie so many times and as persistently as he did. I spoke with him on Saturday afternoon, and he said it is all lies. Incredible, man. It's incredible how ugly this is going to turn and so fast.
This is turning the WWE really fast.
Dude, that's totally what it feels like, Mo. It feels like, I was getting DMs.
Storyline, man.
I was getting messages like as I was sleeping through the night, and I checked this morning. I'm like, holy shit. And they're just like, can you believe this? Like, what's going on? And I'm just like, I just want to wait and see what happens. But the romanticism side of football, like the romantic side of football has been dead for a while. We got Mo's story when he first became a fan. It was because of Del Piero. He spoke to 2006 loyalty, like these guys going down and dealing with that. Honestly, now you start looking at players that join clubs and stuff, and even like Juve's lost ties with the Azzurri somewhat. We don't have that strong link anymore. Players nowadays, could you imagine players trying to stick around if say a Calciopoli type event happened? They would all be out the door. I don't see any guys at our club right now that would do that. And not that they need to or anything, but it's just different times, right? Like that side, that loyalty, like those guys, you don't find it anymore because it's all about the money now.
Well,
and these guys want money. We talked. I know Luca and I got into this a lot about players and contracts and whatnot. And Emery Chan, and Luca having a soft spot for Emery Chan, and me being pissed off because the guy was guaranteed Champions League football in his contract. And I said, well, fuck, if he doesn't deserve it, I don't give a shit if he doesn't get it, because to me, he didn't really separate himself, But this is what I'm talking about, is that this kind of stuff is in contracts now, right? And the players have so much power now, even in transfer. Like they handcuff teams all over the place. Raiola runs certain clubs. For God's sakes, like say what you want about the guy. If you were a player, you would want him as your agent.
Oh yes, there's no argument there. Yeah. But you're right, Al. I think it's just times have changed. I see it similar to the argument that I have very often, just a social argument with my friends and like family about like how education system has changed. Maybe you guys when you were young, if something happened in school, and let's say you get called in the principal's office, your parents would give you a beating, right? They would take the teacher's side. They'd be like, okay, my son is an idiot. I will take care of it when I get home. And then you get a beating. Nowadays, what happens? You get called into the principal's office, and the parent is defending the kid, even though the kid is probably completely at fault. No one listens to the teacher anymore. So I think it's the same thing in the world of football. No one, the players, they have everything on their side. Everyone defends the players, but no one looks at what the actual fundamental issue is, right? So I think it's similar in the sense that times have changed, and rightly so, in a sense that, right, okay, if you're a player and you know your value is 10 mil a year, then I want to get that 10 mil. I'm an idiot if I don't, right?
Yeah.
So loyalty goes, I think, so far in this modern world, because in the end, people are more, I'm going to say, selfish than they used to be. But I think that's just the societal shift that's happened over the last couple of years. Again, Al, it comes down to contracts, right? Back in the day, if something wasn't, respected in a contract, well, that's it. Like you're not gonna take you to court. This is gonna be handled in the room next door, man to man. But nowadays, forget it. If something's not respected, you're going into the high court, and that's it. So I think that's just a societal shift. That's not something we could blame on. Well, yeah, money plays a part in there, but I think that's just people have realized their worth and their ability to fight for that worth.
Yeah.
So,
are there any outside lingering thoughts that kind of came up that struck you guys as this news broke out? Like, I know I was thinking, is this why maybe he hasn't acted on removing Pirlo? Is this why, like, there's not like this sense of kind of like panic amongst Juve in general? Like, because he kind of knew this shift was going to happen, all of a sudden this influx of money or something. Like, a lot of weird thoughts were kind of running through my head about the whole scenario, right?
Conspiracies now. Now you're curious.
Not necessarily a conspiracy, but hey, man, maybe Agnelli's like, I'm going to pay Pirlo 1.8. I'll take my 350 out of this cut with the Super League. Save here. We'll get this. Don't worry about it, you guys. It's okay. Yeah, no, let Pirlo finish the season. We're okay. Like, I don't know. It's just it's interesting to think about all this stuff. But again, the proposed date. This is what's so weird, because Mo touched on them wanting to start as early as August, but other reports were saying it's not actually going to take place till 2024 or whatnot, or the reform, or
that 2024
Champions League.
The 2024 thing, the newly reformed Champions League. They wanted to start at 2024, but the Super League thing, they wanted to start next August. It's like in 3 months or something, So
and again,
so perplexing.
These players are. It's going to be interesting to hear some of these players. Tony Cruz actually came out and had a decent little interesting stage where he was speaking. I don't know if you guys had seen it. Mo, did you see what Cruz had said?
Yeah, I think it's that the players are being puppets or something like that. They need to unionize. I don't know, something touching that.
Yeah,
they wouldn't play the Super Club in Saudi Arabia or something like that. I don't know.
Well, he just said he's basically speaking to, just how the players are technically just puppets in all of this, right?
That's that's from last year.
He said, "View Enric long." Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, his words now, in contrast to what's going on, it's never been so fitting, right? Because you start looking at this and the guitar and what Luca was talking about earlier. Now all of a sudden, these big clubs deciding, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to start in August. Naturally, going to be an off time for players, but now all of a sudden, it's what we're doing this, as well, and. They're just puppets in this battle of greed, and it's kind of it's shitty in that sense for fans and them as well, right? Because they're just literally pawns, right? UEFA holding these guys out of representing their national side, because the club that they belong to all of a sudden is making these decisions the players have no part in. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So the words that he said have never been more fitting. Just that players don't decide these things. We're just puppets of FIFA and UEFA. And if there were a players' union, we wouldn't play the Nations League or a Spanish Super Cup in the Saudi Arabia. these competitions are intended to absorb everything and squeeze players physically too. Everything doesn't always have to be more, faster, more money. So, and that's a big time player, right? So it's interesting how he felt about just FIFA and UEFA in general, and now all this. But expect a lot of legal advice to come out, like a lot of legal battles that will start beginning here. But yeah, just buckle up. And now, does top 4 even matter? like what's gonna, like, we were talking about it on the pre-match yesterday, and then all of a sudden this happens, and it's like, we all relax now. Like, we're gonna potentially get kicked out today, and Atalanta's Serie A champ or something. So who knows what's gonna happen? But it's very interesting to see what happens come from this meeting. But all or nothing, Banji saying all or nothing. One hell of a show.
If it wasn't before, now it's definitely even worse.
And again, maybe Agnelli just making the show that much better, get those ratings up once it kicks on, get some more.
All planned. It was all planned now. It was all a fucking show. Bringing Sadi, bringing Pirlo, it was all done on purpose.
He's the Vince McMahon of football,
There you go. The Vince McMahon of football. Yeah.
Oh man, he kills me.
It's crazy. So let's take the Super League aside. We had our fun with the Super League. A lot of good discussion. Just honestly, I think we're all at the same point. It's very, very hard to pass a true judgment on something until you see the dust settle. Right now, there's so much speculation as to what could eventually happen. We have to wait and see. It's just you can't. There's too much speculation right now, and right now it's the early stages, and they're both just battling and strong arming one another. You have to wait and see.
Just to give you an idea of how much of a shit show it is, the quote you read before about what's it called?
Tony Cruz.
What about Agnelli and the president of UEFA about the lying? I was consistently lying. I've seen the same one on Twitter, but turned around the other way. Now the president's saying that about Agnelli. So it's like, who originally said it about who? I've seen both angles now.
Well, like, no, the one I read was actually the Sefrin talking about Agnelli.
Okay. I thought it was the okay.
No, it was Sefrin talking on Agnelli, about the lies and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
Interestingly enough, I believe Sefrin does have ties to the Agnelli family as well.
Isn't he like his godfather or something? I remember someone saying that.
I believe he's got some loose ties of godfather of some child.
Yeah.
So this is how crazy it is. They had a good relationship at one point.
Oh God!
But,
okay,
this is amazing drama, though. You literally can't write this shit. Like, you can't write this shit. So
I love it. I love it. I'm here for the banter. We're
all in agreement, though. You have to wait, but me personally, a Serie A without Juventus, without AC, even though I can't stand the club, but without Inter,
it's not Serie A.
It's what are we doing here? As a traditionalist, I would always want the league and the domestic to maintain. I don't want an unlevel playing field created from the Super League. Finding the Champions League alternative if UEFA won't pony up, which I honestly feel they should. They should pony up because they've been doing shit backwards for so long. It's only a matter of time before they said, hey, forget you guys. So let's just wait and see to really make calls. Let's get the Super League out. Focus on if the league should right now. We were talking about it on the pre-match, top 4, a lot of doubts and whatnot. Was Juve going to make it? For me, I still say Juve would have made top 4. They'd make top 4. I wasn't like, it's concerning how close it is and whatnot. But we had a split panel where 2 of us said, for sure, Juve will make top 4 regardless of struggles and whatnot. People have to remember, Atalanta is a strong side. It's not like we went out there yesterday and lost to like the shittiest team in the league. Like we lost a 1-0 game. We could have played better, sure. Second half. First half was, we started off good, struggled through the middle, but then finished strong, almost got a goal. Morata really could have put us in a one, might have changed things, might have affected, maybe not based on our second half, but that's not the wrong side. But I want to get your guys' take. Like, would you see Juve? The league continues here. We got 7 matches left. We talked about would you keep Pirlo, would you not? Luca said keep Pirlo. Mo said make a change, find somebody with experience. But do you believe Juve would ultimately lock up top 4, Luca?
Yeah, like I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again. I said it yesterday. People lost it on me. I remember I sent out the tweet right after the game. I went to work. I came back. I had like 5 different replies. I said, I'm like, hindsight 2020, we look at this as it is. This is Atalanta. This is a team that is really strong, well organized, and on their day, almost unstoppable. And we lost 1-0 in the 87th minute, and it was off of deflection. Yes, granted, we didn't play great, and we could have, played better. But looking at this, let's say if this was a year or 2 ago, like it's just another big game that we ended up losing. Like, okay, it happens. It's happened before. Everyone loses their shit. I was more mad when we lost to Torino. Like that made no sense because we shouldn't be losing to Torino. But it's Atalanta. Yeah, okay, we lost today, but we got Parma coming up. Then we got who was it after that? Al, who were we playing after Parma?
Fiorentina.
Right. Those are games that I think we obviously it won't be easy, but we can win. Top 4 is still very much up for grabs, especially when Inter and Napoli both tied yesterday and Roma lost. So like that battle for that 3rd or 4th spot, I still think it's possible. And even Milan's doing okay. I don't necessarily think we can't finish second, but top 4, yeah, I'm still all for it. I don't know why people are freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, I'm banking on these guys. They're not running the table, kind of like Anthony said.
Yeah, he's right.
Atalanta and Napoli aren't running the table, and over 7 games, you have more faith in them losing points too. I think, we have a couple fixtures in there. One with AC, one with Merda later on, right? So Parma, Fiorentina, Udinese are the next 3 up, and those honestly 3 very, very winnable matches for Juventus.
Right.
You get the 9 there. You probably see a drop somewhere along those others chasing that 4. Okay, so that's fine. Then you've got AC Milan on May 9th. Then you've got Sassuolo on the Wednesday. And then you've got Merda. So that's a tough 3 after this initial 3. So getting max points on these 3 is probably going to be really big because then you've got AC, Sassuolo, and Merda. And then, of course, we have the Coppa Italia final. And then we'll wrap up with Bologna on the season. So, Mo, do you think all things continued on in Serie A this season, Juve gets top 4?
I hate to be a downer, guys. I don't think we'll finish in the top 4. No.
Really?
We are such in a free fall state that I do not trust the team now at all. The frustrating thing, that triple games we're having against AC and Sassuolo and then Merda. I know that we will get very positive results against Inter and AC. And the one sneaky game against Sassuolo, I think we will get pummeled in that game. De Zerbi will have a masterclass in that match, and Pirlo will pull something out of his ass, and we will all lose the 4th spot to this one-off match. Maybe against Bologna, even we don't know. But with the team, the way the team playing at home, I don't trust we will finish at the top 4. But hey, there's always the Super League,
So Dell's coming in here saying Madrid made Atalanta look very average. Should Juve not be expected to do a similar thing? Atalanta is a small team regardless of how well they are doing.
Okay.
So
okay. Can I Al? Please?
Yeah, Luca,
right.
go for it.
Right. Okay. Madrid, no matter how you look at it, is still a phenomenal team in Champions League.
Yeah.
Look at their take away everything. They have no defense. Their up front forwards are bang average, except maybe Benzema. It's that midfield And I've said it in the group that we have. That midfield, I don't care how old they are, Casemiro, Cruz, and Modric together, that's a midfield that could take any team and make them look bang average. And if I actually watched the games, it wasn't Atalanta didn't look that bad. They were out of their league. Anybody against Madrid could look out of their league. Madrid is a very big club. People have to remember there's more to it than just than just the players in the field. Madrid is a powerhouse, and they have Zidane on the bench, a known winner, so they will show up. That's especially in Champions League, and I'm not worried about that.
And to that team chat, the same thing Luca's talking on. I got to give Antonio a shout too, because he was talking about it a lot when we were watching the Champions League fixtures and whatnot. But Madrid has that pedigree.
That's what I meant. That's exactly what I meant.
European pedigree, where no matter what's going on in the league, like whatever struggles, whatnot, Champions League, they just have that pedigree. They have that, it's just that aura,
Right. And you can't call Atalanta a small team. With all due respect, Atalanta made it further in the Champions League than we have in the last 3 years. How are they a small team? They can easily lose to small teams because they don't have obviously the subs and the balance and the income, but they are a phenomenal team the last 3 seasons. I would not even relatively even think of them being small anymore. Not even close.
Yeah, we lost this game yesterday, and it came down to what? Atalanta pulled Ilicic Malinovsky in. And we pulled really just Arthur that didn't come in to make an impact. Kulishevsky came in. He did okay, but young guy, whatnot. And this is what I'm saying. Like, our team, I still see, I've been saying this for so long on this podcast, but we have a good 11. We have a really strong 11. And outside of that, it dips. It dips quite a bit, and you still have holes positionally. And ultimately, for me, the biggest thing is you don't have balance in attack or anything because you have a dead side. Your left side is dead. It's solely Chiesa. He doesn't get overlaps from a fullback to assist and take it away. Like, it's dead. It's dead. And Pirlo is part to blame for lack of adjustments here and there, using the guys he does have available. But again, I see us being pretty thin. And yeah, we talked about it earlier. When Chiesa goes out, I'm thinking, well, shit, there's a big threat for us that's gone. And Kulishevsky coming in, the faith isn't there yet. It could be there potentially once he grows and whatnot, but yeah, we just have issues all over the place. Pirlo's a little bit in over his head, and the guys, the execution's not there. And this is another match, and I've seen this trend throughout the season. Another trend of a match where you have 4 guys, maybe 5, that aren't to the standard that you need. And when you continuously have 4 guys out of 10 outfield players that aren't up to where they need to be, I don't care. I don't give a shit if you're playing pick any team. You're going to struggle. It really doesn't matter who you're playing when you have 4 guys consistently. And that happens with our lineup all the time. All the time. This season. Guys just not being up to it. Morata has been on one hell of a slump. If we're talking about not even renewing a 10 million loan, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Because shit, how many holes are we going to open up potentially? Like, CR7's future in question. Dybala, I see the relationship broken. Morata, you don't even want to renew a 10. You want to replace the entire front line in a COVID Mercado? It's never going to happen. CR7 stays, that's great. Okay, sure. CR7 stays. Now you're running into this damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. And again, we're taking Super League out of the thing because it's not actually locked in. Okay,
yeah.
So let's treat this as a normal footballing scenario here. in a COVID affected mercado, if CR7 stays, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if he stays, that salary is massive and it hinders you in moves you can do. Can we strengthen the team enough to keep Ronaldo? In my opinion, you can't. Mo, would you agree? If you keep CR, would you be able to strengthen this team in a COVID-affected mercado this summer enough to make it worth keeping him?
No, I'm actually on the team of selling CR7. It's not that I'm not convinced by him or anything. God forbid. No, I'm totally convinced by CR7. But if it's affecting the team, I hate to use Allegri's words, but if he is affecting the balance of the team, so we have lived before CR7 came, and we will live after CR7 go to another team or even retires. So we should always prevail.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's going to be. I don't know. It's a weird one with CR7. The guy's about to get 100 goals in 3 seasons for Juve, and you're talking about having to move the guy, right? That shows you how bad the management's been overall in terms of roster and whatnot, right? Mismanaged, but I don't think. I don't think he's going to end up going anywhere. Dybala, I think, is actually going to be the move. Luca, I know how you feel. Do you want to talk about the Dybala thing and how you feel about that?
Just so everyone understands where I stand, because if they don't follow me and my obnoxious tweets, they might not know where I stand. I think you tried the CR7 project. It didn't work because you ended up handicapping yourself with a lot less money to spend on the rest of the team. So, if you're looking at it like, oh, wow, I've got a very strong right arm, but the rest of my body is weak, you're not going anywhere. I'm sorry. You're getting knocked down on your legs because that's your weakest part. So for me, I think you tried, props to you for attempting it. It brought in a lot of revenue. You tried to make it more than it was. It hasn't worked. I think trying it for another season would just be the definition of insanity, because you're repeating the same thing every year and hoping for different results, which is not going to happen. And I believe that, when push comes to shove, I think if anyone's going to stand for the team, it'll be Dybala and not Ronaldo. So if you're going to ask me which I'd rather stay, it's a no-brainer for me, especially when you're paying 131 mil and one, let's say, rumored maybe 12 mil. So for me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Dell's coming back with Atalanta don't have the same history, fan base, finances as Juve Madrid. Let's not act like they're a team of world beaters. This is their second ever season in UEFA Champions League. The only way I can respond to this is that we are not going necessarily in apples to apples. Okay? Atalanta has been playing the same system under Gasperini for a while now. They built that team, okay? We are essentially starting fresh. You have to look at this as a start fresh. The fact that we have, more revenue and stuff like that, whatnot, it really doesn't mean shit if you don't put it to good use. So it really doesn't matter. And when you look at Madrid and whatnot, we talk about them consistently in the mix and whatnot, but again, consistently playing a system and getting players to come into that system. We have looked to shift completely. We're also on our third manager in 3 seasons. We've also got a big shift in younger guys and also don't have many Italians there. Why does that even matter? Sometimes the Italians kind of understand what it means to wear that shirt a little more. And sometimes you get that Chiesa fight a little more than you would a Rabiot that's here on a high salary, a Ramsey that's here on a high salary that really doesn't get it. It just, all this kind of plays part, but I don't think it's apples to apples because we need a full reset. We need a bigger reset, in my opinion, than what we've actually gotten. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say
100%.
I'm not going to sit here and say we're a smaller club. I don't think that's the argument we're making here. Yes, in terms of club size, they're nowhere near us. But right now, hats off, they're a better team than us. I will say it. I would take money. I would put money on them. As a betting man, as a sports fan, I'd put money on them before Juventus because they've shown themselves to actually be a team and not individuals. And they've had experience together as opposed to us where, again, third manager in 3 years and a lot of new guys, new faces. So as much as I'm a fan, I think I'm just being realistic. They were the better team, and it showed yesterday. So don't make this more of a bigger image. Don't make it seem like this is a full argument. The reality is they were the better team, they were better set up, and they won. Don't take it more than that.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about what they did to our midfield and whatnot, and our manager didn't react. He didn't make the necessary changes, and Gasparini did.
Yep, exactly.
Changes that won him the game, right? Real quick, in terms of going back to the Ronaldo Dybala thing, the only issue with Ronaldo, if Juve wanted to move him, is again this COVID market.
Yeah,
he's not as marketable.
Yeah, unfortunately.
People can believe whatever they want. He is still 36, whatever years old. He is the GOAT, whatnot. But what teams are going to do that at this moment in time? And I honestly can't see it. I can't see any clubs going in on it at this point because they're all in the same boat.
Look,
and they know that Juve's hands are tied.
Yeah, we had this conversation already, Al, and you know where I stand. I know it's to be very difficult to move him.
Yeah.
But I think if it's difficult to move Ronaldo, it must be just as hard to move Dybala because everyone's shitting on him, his value must be lower than it ever was, right? So, okay, even if we sell him, let's say, in terms of transfer fee for a loss, obviously we will. We're not going to get him. We're not going to sell him for the amount we bought him for. Just getting that salary off. I don't care if it's less. He has to be realistic here. Him and his agent needs to look at the bigger picture and think, this is COVID, and this is where you're at in your life. You're not going to get 31 mil a year, and you're not going to get an 80 mil transfer fee. No, it's not going to happen. We'll be lucky if we get over 50 mil for the transfer, and he'll be lucky if he gets maybe 20 mil in terms of salary. That's the reality of it. He has to realize that his value is dropped too.
We won't get that, man. Yeah, it's tough. We're stuck. I think we're stuck. Like, I think CR's not going. He's going to sit it out, and then we won't get anything out of the end of it, right?
Yeah.
The bigger fear for me is that Dybala freezes out moves for us this summer, and we lose him on free.
That's
disaster. That's
disaster.
But, again, a lot of speculation, a lot of stuff can change. But you're talking about Atalanta. You're a betting man, and Luca would take Atalanta. Well, let's finish with this. Coppa Italia final. Is Juve going to win the Coppa Italia final against Atalanta? Mo?
You had to ask that, didn't you?
No. Look, man, I just want this season to be over with as soon as possible. I cannot stand Juve this season.
He has given up. He's done.
Yeah. I cannot. 3 years is too much, man. No.
Mo, you're killing me.
Yeah, I hate to be one of the downers, guys. But of course I will.
You may get the job done.
It's okay. Mo says no. I think if we have somewhat a healthy squad, look, yesterday I said it. It wasn't a big gap of a difference. Yes, Atalanta was the better team and they won, but we had our chances. I think, again, if we're able to just bury those chances and we have proper subs, I think we could take it. Pirlo has shown that, when push comes to shove and he has the proper players, he's shown that we can show up. That's what, obviously it's frustrating that he's inconsistent, but you know what? I still think it is possible. And obviously I am still very much a Juventus fan, so I'm hoping that we bring it home.
Yeah. I think we'll get the job done. I think Juve will win that Coppa Italia. If we can get the key 11 in there from the start, I think we'll get the job done. That seems to be the big thing around this team this season. If you throw away the first part where it took growing pains, Pirlo to figure out who and where he wanted to put it, outside of that, what it's really depended on is the guys available. Because January, when we were as close to healthy, we went on a great run. Outside of that, it was just a shit show for lineups, and it has been that way. It's laughable at injuries and whatnot. I'm really starting to question our training staff too on the ridiculous amount of just like muscle injuries and things that come up while you're on a week off, like a week break. You can still train and whatnot, but I'm really starting to question these guys. Like it's mind blowing to me, the amount, but it's interesting to see fans' comments throughout this, as some were talking about yesterday. It's the players, it's their execution. No, it's the manager, whatnot. I really think it comes down to everything. Inexperienced coach, like I put it, and still he was a cheap option. You're not going to get the experienced decisions, the adjustments, all that. It's going to take him time. Juve is not the place for a guy to gain that time. He shouldn't have been hired. Okay? Cheap option. The players, the execution is terrible. It's terrible. And when you look at a midfield, any combination you make, you don't have a creative force in there. We lack on all fronts. The money, regardless that they want more and they want to create the Super League, they've taken €1 billion in the past decade out of Champions League. In my opinion, we don't have the roster to show for it. A lot of things, a lot of work needs to be done. We've got Parma midweek. We're going to have a lot of news coming out over these next few days. Let's wait and see what happens. But again, on that, let's all wait to pass true final judgment until we see what happens. But us three talking, we're all kind of on the same page. We want to see the same setups, just everybody happy amongst them. Mo, thank you so much for joining today. Been an absolute
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, Luca. It's been a pleasure for me too. See you guys. Thank you, Luca. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you, everybody who joined live. Again, thanks for all the incredible support. And we'll be back for the midweek pre-match live. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to discuss. And then, of course, the post-match podcast after the match against Parma, should it even take place and we don't get kicked out of Syria. So let's all stay tuned. But as always, no matter what, Forza Juve, Fino alla Fina. Enjoy your day, guys, and we will all talk soon. Thank you, everybody who took part in the live. Much, much appreciated. Ciao.